You have exactly 3 seconds to like and subscribe to the channel. Otherwise, I'll appear in your dreams tonight. To ask for a donation for that cup of coffee, link below.
I've already told the government that there's no need for us to go to the International Court of Justice. If they want it, we'll settle it in a one-on-one fight. It's as simple as that. That was the emphatic statement of Lieutenant General Bunsen Park. The 2nd Corps of the Thai Army was ordered to act after nearly a month of escalating border tensions between Thailand and Cambodia. In this context, neither country has shown any signs of compromise. War may be the last resort. So, if the worst-case scenario happens, how will the conversation unfold? Before diving into the main content, CD Media Military would like to note that the entire content in this video is a hypothetical scenario of war between Thailand and Cambodia based on information we have gathered. We do not intend to be biased or distort the truth to serve the interests of any particular country or organization. We hope you have a great time watching this video. Now, let's get started. To understand how the war will unfold, let's first take a moment to compare the military strengths of both sides. As the saying goes, the weak prefer to use international law, while the strong prefer to use the law of the jungle. It's no coincidence that a general commanding a corps stationed very close to the Cambodian border was so eager to wage war to definitively resolve the issue. But in this situation, is Thailand really in a losing position? He looked up at the screen. We can see that Bangkok possesses enormous economic potential. They also have a greater degree of self-reliance compared to Cambodia, especially in basic sectors such as energy, telecommunications, and consumer goods manufacturing. This advantage allowed Thailand to sustain the war for a relatively long period. And if we consider military strength alone, Bangkok also possesses a relatively large army. The Royal Thai Armed Forces currently maintain approximately 1,000 regular troops. In addition, they have 221,000 reserve soldiers who can be mobilized to the battlefield in an. Just like most other countries, the majority of Thailand's strength is concentrated in the land forces. Compared to smaller and larger powers like South Korea and Japan, the equipment of the Thai ground forces is relatively inferior. However, when compared to other Southeast Asian countries, they possess a fairly modern arsenal of weapons. They possess 630 and 1,000 armored vehicles, 50 self-propelled artillery pieces, and almost 600 towed artillery pieces, far more formidable than the Cambodian Royal Armed Forces. Initially, they had only 6 tanks, over 600 armored, 30 self-propelled, and 430 towed artillery pieces. Although most of Thailand's heavy weaponry consists of older equipment from the 1970s, primarily, they also possess modern combat vehicles such as the T-tank, which is considered to be as powerful as the T-9. In addition, Thailand also possesses CSA and ASMOS 2000 self-propelled artillery, as well. Hundreds of 150 Bahawas in Canadian made GC-45. Israeli purchased M71s with a range of approximately 30 km. Thailand also possesses a large number of personal weapons such as grenade launchers, anti- and shoulder-fired missiles. Despite their high level of modernization, some notable names include Javelin and who opened the scoring. The Cambodian side was already short on manpower, and much of their equipment was outdated, such as Time 59 and Time 62. Hoping's best equipped force was the infantry. They were equipped with a few PL-9AB and PH-01 rocket launchers, and H-1 howitzers purchased from China in extremely limited quantities. It can be seen that, compared to the overall strength of the it is at least 3 times stronger than Cambodia's. But when it comes to the Air Force, this difference is no longer a 1-to-1 ratio, but is becoming. That's right, we're not kidding. Thai Air Force is actually 20 times stronger than the Cambodian Air Force. The reason for such a huge disparity is that the Cambodian Air Force has virtually no offensive capabilities whatsoever. The reason is that Cambodia only has 2 or 3 transport planes and a few dozen light military helicopters. Meanwhile, Thailand possesses one of the strongest air forces in SAT. The main strength of this force lies in its 11 JZ-39 Gripen fighter, 10 F-16s, 13 F-5s, and 14 Kai T-50 light combat and training jets. Finally, let's consider they possess 6 fast attack missile boats, and 49 completely overwhelmed Cambodia, which had only 20 smuggling boats and not a single proper warship. This also means that Thailand could easily attack the Zanville and other Cambodian islands with just one Buimbadun class frigate. Based on this preliminary information about the balance of power, we can easily imagine the war between Hybe as follows. First, Thailand could deploy troops to one hotspot is located at the border junction with Laos and Cambodia. Next, they will establish a series of logistical routes around areas with roads leading to tram camp, such as the districts of Orania Prates, Ko, Hong Lat, and Phong Nam Ram. In this way, Thailand pretended that it was considering a massive military invasion of Cambodia from multiple directions. This is similar to what the Russians did in 2022 when they conducted a special military operation. This was also a politically motivated act, aimed at putting pressure on Prime Minister Hun Manet's government. He was forced to give a clear answer if he wanted to indirectly curry favor with Bangkok. He had to accept concessions. If Thailand does not receive a satisfactory response from Cambodia, it will decide to attack. However, before doing it for the first time, several decades, they also needed to prepare a suitable excuse. We need to remember that Cambodia has never mobilized large military units to cross the sea and massacre civilians on the other side, as did with Viet Nam. At the same time, Nang's leaders did not declare any intention to destroy Thailand, unlike in the case of Iran and Israel. Cannot claim its goal is to reclaim historical land or protect Taos in Cambodia because there are no suitable circumstances. From a legal standpoint, the current situation still favors PM because the soldier killed in the shootout at the end of 25 was Cambodian. Furthermore, despite deploying troops to the border, the Humanet government still declared its intention to take the matter to an international court. Therefore, Thailand might consider creating a false tactic favored by powerful nations when they want to attack a smaller, weaker country. Specifically, they could stage a terrorist attack, as if a Cambodian military unit, unable to restrain itself, had launched an assault. When Pomping offered a cure, the Taos simply rejected it. At this, Cambodia will also be forced to take steps to prepare for war. But remember that this once impoverished country now has a real government and army. They are not the same rebels as the PP and so they cannot proactively hide and retreat tactically. Instead, they are forced to deploy troops to the border to stabilize the situation. The Cambodian population and economic activities near that area will be temporarily relocated. And rocket launchers will be deployed to the border in response to such a reaction. Thailand, despite its large military force, would only utilize this advantage to establish checkpoints in border areas and prevent Cambodian troops from attacking. They had no reason to initiate an attack with infantry, as it would damage their image internationally and could result in significant casualties from the resulting firefights. Instead, Bangkok will wait for Cambodia to mass its troops at the border and then present its negotiating conditions. Once the ground situation began to take shape, they would suddenly deploy Gripen and F-16 aircraft. Cambodian, although the Thai Air Force lacks the combat experience. Conversely, Cambodia also does not possess sufficiently good air defense capabilities. The main weapons on the ship were primarily FN-60 and QW-3 man-portable air defense missiles purchased from China. Cambodia's medium to long-range air defense capabilities rely HQ-12 missile battalions with extremely limited ammunition reserves, making it very difficult to cover. Therefore, to neutralize Cambodia's defensive capabilities, Thailand only needed to obtain intelligence on the location of the HQ-12 battalions and proactively avoid listening to their communications. Instead of flying close to the terrain, they will have the squadrons fly at high altitudes and high speeds, following the area along the coast bordering Cambodia. These aircraft can carry a number of long, high-precision air-to-ground weapons, such as the M65 MiG. Next came laser-guided bomb, like the GB-10 or MAX-83 to supplement their destructive power. And once they decide to attack, the Thais may choose symbolic targets that are also the strongest concentrations of Cambodian power. Leading the list is the real naval base in Freetown, South. Just missile strikes would be enough to inflict such severe damage on Cambodia's largest base that it would be impossible to repair for years. But of course, Nai Tai also had to be careful when selling, avoiding touching any valuable Chinese assets if he didn't want things to spiral out of control. The Cuffum could choose safer targets such as Cambodian military bases, located in the remote Arnan district of Can province or buildings designated by the Sem Military District Command. Along with that, there were several weapons depots or troop assembly points belonging to Cambodia in the area along the border. The attacks primarily targeted such symbolic objectives. The main point was to remind Nan that they were provoking a country far more powerful than themselves, and that Thailand could defeat Cambodia at any time. If they are more daring, Thailand could emulate Israel, flying terrain, hugging aircraft to launch lightning attacks on Cambodian heavy artillery units or anti-aircraft missiles. With their advanced equipment, Thai fighter jets are perfectly capable of carrying out airstrikes over enemy territory and then returning safely to their homeland without any damage. Before, for some reason, the Thai Air Force became so weak that it flew into the attack range of HQ-12 and was which would have been a humiliating disgrace for the entire military of the country. But, whatever the case, after the attack is Bangkok will await Nov's response. Given its capabilities, Cambodia is unable to carry out retaliatory airstrikes on Thai territory. At this point, two scenarios are highly likely to occur. In the first scenario, Cambodia would launch several attacks on military targets in Thailand, using their most powerful land weapons, such as the 300 caliber IO-3 rocket artillery. Kong. Subsequent, Hun Manet's government declared a successful response and proposed peace negotiations. At this point, Thailand itself could not refuse Cambodia's offer, because they had already demonstrated the strength of their military, and further escalation of tensions would not benefit them in any way. The second scenario is that Cambodia will launch a strong offensive against artillery and tanks, and send special forces across the border to attack military targets in Thailand, in an attempt to force the other side to back down. If that were to happen, the story would take a completely different turn. At this point, the Thai Navy will get involved. Once again, Cambodia's shortcomings in its naval and air forces will work against the country, because the Thai Navy will mobilize at least half of its strength to attack the ports of Zadav and Si Sueng. This also provides an opportunity for this force, which has no prior combat experience, to demonstrate its fighting capabilities. First, Thailand's three most powerful destroyers, including two from the Narashwa class, one from the Abhimanyu class, will be deployed. Following behind to support them were rapid attack squads for classes such as Tapi, Camronan, and these ships were originally built for defensive purposes, to counter enemy heavy warship, rather than offensive ones, due to their limited operational range. However, Cambodia are very close to the Thai border. Bangkok also doesn't have to worry about being unexpectedly attacked by a third country, because it has no potential adversaries around it other than Cambodia. Therefore, mobilizing most of their strength does not affect Thailand's defensive capabilities. Things became even more favorable for Bangkok. As far as anew, Cambodia did not possess any coastal defense missiles. At most, they could only set up artillery support positions to protect the area. To respond, Thailand could simply deploy its air force to attack, more simple, destroy ships outside the range of the artillery. Then the Thai Air Force will use missiles to bombard the power plants. Next, they will search Cambodian patrol boats in a situation where they are under attack and unable to react. Cambodian surface forces will be annihilated in a short time or forced to retreat to a safe position and will be unable to continue fighting. Next, trade ships in the land of temples were also almost completely blocked. On the ground, the Thai Air Force continued its show of force, preventing Cambodian anti-aircraft troops from effectively utilizing them. Not to mention the possibility of being burned to ashes. Thailand can maintain this encirclement of its rival for an extended period while continuing. If some cruise missiles could also be deployed to attack military targets along the Cambodian, it's important to remember that Cambodia's economy is heavily reliant on the service sector, and most of its goods are imported from a when threatened in this way by the Thai Navy, Cambodia's bustling cities, with their casinos and resorts, will become a thing of the past. Cambodia's budget revenue has therefore dried up. If Thailand imposes a complete blockade, Phnom Penh can only import a small number of goods through other intermediary countries such as Viet Nam or Laos. But of course, this approach couldn't help Cambodia survive in the long run. They will be forced to negotiate with Thailand from a position of weakness or call for international support. At this point, Bangkok's concern is not Cambodia's counterattack, but they also need to be prepared for a strong reaction from China. However, Thailand still has bargaining power, because, considering China's interests, Bangkok would have to demonstrate to Beijing that its relationship with them would be far more beneficial than its relationship with Cambodia. If China chooses to turn a blind eye, they could step in to take advantage of the situation after Cambodia loses the war. Phnom Penh's dependence on Beijing will therefore be much greater than it is currently, after feeling that Cambodia has suffered enough and is ready to negotiate in a way that benefits them, can brazenly declare victory and withdraw. Thus, a swift ending, and Patantan Shanawa could leverage this victory to intimidate and suppress opposing factions. The war may have caused Thailand some, but it was perhaps an acceptable price to pay to rekindle nationalism and usher in a period of stable development for the country. Because, regardless of the circumstances, given Cambodia's limitation in long-range attack weapon systems, Thailand is almost certain to win. But that doesn't mean Cambodia is incapable of inflicting significant damage on Thailand, although the chances are extremely slim. Although Cambodia has no chance of gaining dominance at sea over Thailand, it can still create a breakthrough advantage through its land forces. Accordingly, they launch an attack on Thai army units stationed at the border. However, this would also be very difficult because the Royal Cambodian Army would have to fight without air superiority. Thai aircraft roared overhead, ready to launch an attack on heavy weapons units and concentrated infantry groups at any moment. Right in front of them were the prepared defensive lines. Once tanks at our enemy, they can freely and relentlessly attack. The best Cambodia can hope for right now is that the Hu-12 missile will be able to shoot down an enemy F-5 or Gripman fighter jet. To understand how difficult fighting under such conditions was, you can recall the situation of the Liberation Army during its campaign to liberate South Vietnam in 1974. But remember that the Liberation Army was able to achieve such a feat because it was an army that had endured decades of arduous work. Soldiers' direct combat experience and unwavering courage cannot be taught in school. They must be forged through life or death battles. Their leaders were also honest and upright military officers, tested through the most difficult times of history, and willing to endure hunger and hardship alongside their soldiers and the people. Those were the factors that greatly boosted the morale of the Liberation Army at that time. Now let's look at Cambodia. The current Cambodian army has no real-world combat experience. Throughout its history, this country has achieved a glorious victory against a stronger enemy in the past few hundred years. Cambodian officers also lacked a reputation for integrity and a willingness to engage in a brutal, asymmetrical war. Instead, there have been scandalous corruption cases within the military. Therefore, a situation in which Cambodian ground forces would disregard casualties and fight for their country is highly unlikely. But if, by some miracle, General Hun Manet's government were to win, it would mark a new chapter in Cambodian history, because that would be the first time in modern history that the nation has achieved victory against a foreign power. Manet and his family may forever be remembered as the immortal heroes of the nation. But in any case, we must reiterate that all content in this video is purely speculative. In actual many difficult situations can arise. However, through an analysis of the relative military strength between Thailand and Cambodia, we can see just how wrong it is for a military force to develop only its army while neglecting its air force and navy in the context of modern warfare. In other words, if a nation truly wants to defend its homeland early on by preparing for conflict, it will have to possess a solid domestic economy, well-trained army, and an arsenal of weapons. Don't necessarily have to be the largest or most modern, but they must be adequate. If you be prepared for war. Music.